We're going to bring in our specialist, our speaker of the day. This is one of my favorite people. He's connected me to almost all of my big names that I've been connected to. I mean, the founder of the Make-A-Wish Foundation. How do you think I got connected to Sharon Lecter? From this guy. I mean, you want to be connected? This is the guy you got to be talking to. He's a filmmaker. He's an author. He's wrote dozens of #1 bestsellers. He's co-authored. He's helped build businesses and authors and brands. He hosts a top 10 event from Forbes called Secret Knock. You've all have heard of it. Maybe some of you have not even been to it yet. But I want to bring in this superstar of superstars, the one and only Reid. So let me see, what kind of music do I have going on right now? You have a good one? I'll take this one. Let's do it. Reid, everybody.
Boom, and the crowds go wild.
How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me on, brother. It's good to see you again. I see you're growing a beard looking like your hero.
Yes, I'm starting to grow this out. It's really filling in. If I shave it, I get these little bald patches, so I got to keep it looking fresh.
You're doing the little meme wall in the back, too. Right on, man.
Yeah. Where do you think I got the idea? I came to your house. I'm like, dude, those things are awesome. I want to have my whole wall filled with them, just everywhere. But the wife won't let me. She's like, what are you thinking? You're crazy. You get one little section of your wall. Stay there.
We don't get anything for this. It's called Mix Tiles. It's a little app on your phone, and it just takes a photograph right from your phone, and it prints it on those things and ships them to your door front. They're pretty amazing.
Oh yeah, I got them for like $5, $6, $10 each or something like that. Ridiculous. And you get to pick them. Just pick them right from your Instagram. Yeah, look at them. They're right behind you as well. They're everywhere. Oh, that's so cool. So, brother, how have you been, man? It's been too long. We haven't had a conversation, and I think it's time that we start sharing the secrets of wealth and strategy and success. You've been around the block so many times. You've been able to talk to anyone and everyone you want to. What would you say is some of the best golden nuggets you've learned lately from just the last couple of years of some of these interviews you've had?
Not jumping into the old stuff, because I got to tell you, I've found a couple of new discoveries that have completely transformed my life. I used one literally about 15 minutes ago, and it's from my latest book called Wealth Made Easy.
Nice.
And I learned something from a friend, Mark Anthony Bates. And it was called CPC. And this completely transformed the way I look at life and business the last 3 years. It's about accountability and responsibility for every single thing that happens. CPC stands for clues, patterns, choices. And it works like this. First of all, it's not someone else's fault. So if I go out on a first date, I'm a single guy, and she shows up 20 minutes late, that's a clue. If I go on the second, third, fourth date, she's 20 minutes late every time, I see a pattern. Now it's my choice. I deal with it, adjust it, yell at her or whatever, but it's not her fault. She's just late. It's not my job to fix her or change her. I've got to accept it or make the choice to live with it or not. And I realize that so many times in business, someone has a bad reputation. And then they do business with a friend of yours and they don't have a great experience, then we try it because it'll be different and we have the same exact outcome. And then we're mad at that person. Well, we saw a clue, pattern. We also made the choice, and we have to have accountability and responsibility. Same way as if you saw a rattlesnake rattle, bite your little sister, then you go to pick it up and it bites you. You can't be mad at the snake. It's just being exactly what it's meant for.
That's powerful, because I think that's a big thing that a lot of people struggle with. And whether it's business, life, relationships, they come in thinking they can bring their solution to everyone else's problems. And that's a very, very big eye-opener there. Now, just an FYI, people, if you have a question for Greg, we have a tab, the Q&A tab, you'll see right over here, or maybe over here, depending on which way you're seeing the screens. But Q&A tab, ask your questions there. We're going to get to some of those very shortly, but continue on, Greg.
Exactly what you were saying. One thing you and I always talk about is the difference between counsel and opinion. And whenever I'm at Cervex, this seems to be one of the things that gets its greatest response. Successful people seek counsel where failures listen to opinion. And you might be thinking, what's the difference? Opinion is based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, or inexperience. Like a family friend who's never done what you're about to venture upon. Counsel is based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. People have paved the way. So if you go to a family friend, tell them you're going to write a best-selling book, they might talk you out of it if they've never done it. But if I go to Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, he's going to say, Greg, sit down. Here's what you need to know, and give me counsel based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. If we would spend our activity only seeking counsel and ignoring people's opinion, that's the day your life would change.
Absolutely. Now, I think with what I come across a lot in my line of work, whether it's helping an entrepreneur that's starting from day one or helping somebody that's decades in the game and is stuck, what I seem to keep coming across is they don't have the real idea of success. Now, you've been around a lot of really, truly successful people. If you were sitting in front of, let's say, one of my from Orphan to CEO students, they're coming into entrepreneurship as day one. They can barely understand how to, what mentorship means. Now they want to start building their own dream.
Surround yourself with people that are getting the results that you want for yourself. And now here's a big word, today. I added today, by the way, Manny, and I'll tell you a reason why. If I wanted to start a brand new restaurant chain, you and I both know Gene Landrum, who started Chuck E. Cheese, but he did it 40 years ago. I might go to the guy who did Five Guys or In-N-Out, who's getting the results that we want today, and ask him for guidance. The same thing, if I wanted to learn online, marketing, I don't think I'd go to someone who is an expert on MySpace. You know what I mean? I go, who's doing it today and getting the results I want? Look, when I want to be a best-selling author, I went to Barnes & Noble. I bought every best-selling book. I didn't want to be a great writing author. I want to be a best-selling one. And I called those people up and said, what did you do? And I duplicated their efforts. And here we are now. I've been published in over 100 titles in 45 different languages around the world with, crazy or not, a star on the Walk of Fame. I mean, if a guy who can't read, write, and is dyslexic can do it, there is no excuse.
Right? I mean, it's the resources and the people that you can surround yourself with that really make all the difference. I mean, my business didn't really start changing until I got an invite from a guy by the name of Bernie Dorman from CEO Space. And he goes, you should come out to this event. And I've never spent anywhere close to what he was asking for, not even to start my business, right? And he wanted that for one event. And I'm like, you're crazy. But then he goes, well, we're having this keynote, this guy by the name of Les Brown. And I'm like, wait a second. That guy's been at the top of my bucket list to have a chance to meet, to shake his hand, to thank him for inspiring me to become an entrepreneur, to show that it was possible because he had a very similar story just like me. And when I ended up getting to that event, it blew my mind the way people thought, the way they just had an abundance mentality versus everywhere else I was at that had this lack mentality that all of a sudden that we're competing everywhere and there's not enough for anybody and then it's just go to these other people and they just think, well, there's an opportunity here. I mean, I can't even keep up with the opportunities. How do you have that shift, or what does that come across? Does that happen in business and relationships? Where do you see that kind of that shift happen?
I think that's a great point. Les was my hero too when I first got started, and it was just a different decade, right? And back in the day, I remember I sought him out and I said, Les, I want to be a great speaker. What do I do? Just give me one tip that's different. And he did, and I did something crazy, and I applied that wisdom. And then I hunted him down a month later, and I said, Mr. Brown, I met you a month ago. I asked for one tip. I did it. What should I do next? What's the chance of him giving me the next nugget? It was 100% because I honored my mentor by taking action on what he gave me, the counsel and the wisdom. And now he calls me for wisdom and counsel back and forth. And here was the tip. It's so simple, you're going to laugh. He said, stop holding the mic the way you do. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, what you do is you take the microphone and you hold it like this. He goes, you're blocking your entire face. He goes, you're a speaker and no one can see you. He goes, what we do is we hold it at the very end and we talk and we can still use our arm motions. They can still hear you, but now you're not blocking yourself and the people feel connected to you. That simple little thing. If you look at every picture, you ever see a Les Brown, you always see him holding it at the bottom. Completely changed the way I started looking. And then the next time he said, here's what you want to do. Here's what you want to do. And I realized that you can have anything you want in life as long as you ask for the right guidance. But then what you always talk about, you got to apply it. It's the action in law of attraction.
Yes.
Think it, feel it, get off your backside. You got to do it.
Huge, huge. That was funny because that was the parting words that Dan Fleshman left on our interview at the last event. He was saying, the biggest thing that you guys can do is actually take action on this stuff that I teach you. So many people, and this happens to me all the time, I get somebody that I coach on my call, and I say, hey, here's what you need to do. By the next time you get on my call in the next couple of weeks, I want to see you check these off. And then when they don't, I have no excitement to try and give them the next steps. I mean, like, why would I? They didn't even take the first three. Why would I give them the 4, 5, and 6, right? So I think that's powerful. And then we had a little question here that popped in. People were asking about the quote. I guess it came in a little cut off. The quote about successful people seeking counsel versus opinion.
Yeah,
what was that quote again?
People seek counsel where failures listen to opinion. Surround yourself with people that are getting the results you want for yourself today. Another example, when I went to Africa, I climbed and summited Mount Kilimanjaro. I did not ask some dope smoking surfer here on the beach to take me up to the roof of Africa. I found the Sherpa that I climbed it 900 times. All those porters, wherever they put their boot print, I put my boot print. I followed successful actions of others. And by doing that, I got to the pinnacle of my goal and my destination. And I realized it's the same thing in every single thing we do. Who's doing what you want? Ask those people for guidance, add your own twist, do it yourself, and there you go.
Powerful, powerful stuff. All right, let's get to some of this Q&A here. We've got 3 questions that have come in so far. Again, you guys, anybody watching right now, pop in any question on writing books, on filmmaking, on success, on interviews he's had with successful people. We want to know. So the first question comes in from Lori Bruton. Says, how can a book become a movie? That's my huge dream.
You know, I've only done 5 motion pictures, but my big one right now is Wish Man. It's the story of Frank Shankwitz, the founder of Make-A-Wish. And real simple for that one is the guy had a dream and a goal, and he had a book that was being published that my former wife put out there. And we realized real simple that his message was so impactful, but we still, as crazy as it was, we had to glorify it and made it Hollywood-esque. So it was based on a feature film, and it's about 70% legitimate, but we also had to add the dramatic things. So the big key is to not get so attached to the exact wording and the outcome. Because remember, what you think is important to you, well, the audience member somewhere else in the world, they have to have an impact as well. So we had to put those arcs throughout the entire film to make it happen. It was really interesting. I'll tell you how this came to be. We're at Secret Knock, and I asked Frank what his wish was, because I was kind of curious what founder of Make-A-Wish asked for. He said, no one ever asked me. I says, well, I want to grant your wish. Anything you want, I'll give it to you. If you want a Lamborghini, I will buy you a car. And he said, no, he goes, I just want my story to be told so my grandkids know I did something. So he signed over his life rights, and I said, cool, Frank, but just know I've never made a major feature film. But he trusted me, and it took 6 years, millions of dollars, and more trials and tribulations than you can imagine. And we ended up making the ballad for the Oscars this last season, and now we're trending worldwide on Netflix.
Wow. And it was a surreal moment when I kept seeing all of his announcements. I was like, wow, he really did. I was there when you guys are like launching these ideas and talking about them. And we're thinking like, oh, you know, it's just going to be something we release to our friends and we get it out to people and we, you know, have a little fun with it. But no, man, you really took it all the way to Netflix and the Oscars. I mean, that's how big you can make a dream become a reality. It's taking an idea to say, you know what, I want to make that idea become a reality. And what did you do? You surrounded yourself with all of the right people to make it happen.
Correct.
And that's, I think, the real beauty.
Let's be real, because one thing about you and me, Manny, we're the only 2 guys out there that are no bullshit guys. So I didn't know anything what I was doing. Yeah. So people go, oh, well, you had money and resource. All this. No, when we were doing this, I didn't even know a clue where to start. So I ran an ad on what was it, Craigslist. Said I'm looking for a screenwriter, and a guy popped up an ad, Theo Davies, and he ended up writing the movie and producing and directing the entire feature film. And I didn't know what I was.
And you had a lot of first timers, right? First time director, first time star, first time filmmaker, first time producers. I mean, it was not built by a whole Academy Award winning production crew. I mean, it was all becoming an Academy Award production crew. That's how powerful this is. So a dream doesn't always have to be made by bringing in the superstars. You can become superstars by having a strong
we did
enough.
bring in superstars, but they weren't superstars yet. You know, they were in the making. They were diamonds in the rough, and we were kind of land of the misfit toys. But we came together because I kept seeing that they had the passion, the desire. And I'll tell you how it all came together for real. Is I had finally a meeting. I was about to give up. I didn't know what to do, and I got a chance meeting with the founder of Showtime Television. I went to his mansion up in Beverly Hills, and I said, man, I just don't know what to do. I've only got X amount of money. Everyone says to get this big famous star, but then we have no extra money. I don't know what to do. And he looked at me and says, well, when we did Showtime, we did a TV show. Our first one was called Twin Peaks. He goes, what I realized, rather than get the most expensive face name recognized person, he goes, why don't you just use the money to get the best people to play that roles? And I went, huh. And he goes, then go get these, you know, B-list or C-list actors that are face recognized and everyone knows, and put them around those people as supporting star and cast. And then all of a sudden it will have that look and feel. That's what made this movie a success, because then I said, well, who's the best person? Yeah, I could give $2 million to this one movie star, but he would just be another job. But Andrew Steele, who we found from Australia, he gave a whole year of his life and studied and changed his voice. And we ended up putting the right people in the right place. And to us, that is the reason why this movie became the phenomenon it is.
I love it. It's just truly a story of real passion and just drive, determination, and just not giving up. I love it. So we've answered that question. Let's get into the next one. We have, let's see here. Okay, this is a good one. Any tips? This is from Fred Pusimo. Any tips for publishing, becoming a New York Times bestseller? What would you say is some of the strategies behind that?
I've never been a New York Times bestseller. I've hit every other list there is, Wall Street Journal, Business Week, you name it. I have hit it, but not the New York Times. The New York Times is a very tricky situation. The way that it works, according to the science behind it, supposedly there's only 7 different retailers that distribute and tell the New York Times which books are being sold. And there's only a few people that know all 7 of those places. So you have to hire these services. And what they do is you can get a whole bunch of books and make sure that those 7 locations are the ones that are buying it. So they report. But the bottom line is I could buy 10,000 book sales through one store down the street. But if they're not reporting, kind of like your credit service, if they're not reporting to the department, then it doesn't get counted towards the thing. So either you have to just sell a boatload of books so you get picked up no matter what, or 2, you have to kind of utilize this system where you hire people to put it in the placement in the right spot. But I will tell you this, being a best-selling author is cool, but it's really not that cool. Being a back-selling author is where it's all at. And that's what I am. That's what Sharon is. That's what all these other guys. Yeah, that's it.
What's a back-selling author?
Okay, so a best-selling author, imagine when you go into Barnes & Noble, there's only about 5,000 titles allowed on the bookshelves. There's only so much space. 4,500 of those books are bestseller books. The other 500 are bestsellers. They're spinning in and out. It's like who's the cool kid of the day, right? Who's the Justin Bieber, who everyone's hot right now. And so what happens is a backseller book, as soon as it's on the shelf and it's there permanently, that's called a backseller. As soon as someone buys one, it automatically triggers to refill it. So your book is always there. So I'm one of only a handful of authors that I know of in the world that has always got at least 4 books available at Barnes & Noble on the bookshelves at any time as a backseller book. So for example, if someone goes and buys Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as soon as they buy it, it triggers to do it. It's a back-selling book. It fills itself. Think and Grow Rich, Who Moved My Cheese, the Bible, whatever. So those are the way that works. So being a back-selling author is one of the most difficult things in the world, but that's the holy grail of marketing.
Interesting. That's something I didn't even know about. So wow, I was like, wait, what tell me more about that, Greg. I need to take some notes. Awesome. Now go into a little bit about how, because here's what most people watching right now, there's going to be 2 audiences we're serving. We're serving my From Orphan to CEO students. They are day 1 entrepreneurs. They're learning these strategies step by step, day 1. Then we have our more experienced entrepreneurs. Most of the people watching right now, they're going to watch our replays, things like that. They're speakers, they're coaches, they're authors, they're consultants, and they want to start getting paid for their expertise. they've got their book out, right? They don't really know how to leverage it. Maybe they didn't become a bestseller. Maybe they did become an Amazon and still they're not really doing much with it. How do you take a book like 3 Feet from Gold, or even their own type of book that they have that's not really getting much attention? How do you monetize that without actually selling books?
Yeah. So first of all, there is no money in books. No matter what people tell you, there's no money in books. There's just no money in books. So for example, I've been in 100 books, 45. I haven't made any money in those things, but I've made millions and millions of dollars by being in those books because I've leveraged that opportunity to build my credibility. So for example, I guarantee you, like some of my books, I haven't even made, call it $30,000 total in the entire history of that book sale. However, I've got $30,000 paid speaking gigs to travel to go speak at a group for just an hour from that book. So it's really interesting how that leverages. But the key is specificity. The biggest challenge is we sit there and go out and say, look, I want to help people. Well, unfortunately, there's no real market for that. It's specificity. So 3 Feet from Gold, stickability, thoughts are things. The books that I've done are very specific driven. So when people bring me in, look, can I talk to a Girl Scout tribe or Nabisco about 3 Feet from Gold, about not giving up before the miracle happens? And the answer is yes. So it's very specific because the bottom line is that target goes for anyone I want to. And not only that, but when you go to the bookstore, you're going to find me in personal development under perseverance. So I branded myself the king of perseverance by doing 3 Feet from Gold, stickability, those type of projects. And that's why people bring me in to do. So the thing is to stop trying to be all things to all people, be the one world authority expert in somebody. Think about it. The first part of authority is author. So to be the authority in one given thing, and then you can go off in all directions once you're there, but use it as a Trojan horse, open the door.
I love it. And this is something I'm always talking about with getting your business out there, is not try to be the answer to anybody and everybody, is get specific. Because what I usually try to say is, you know, everybody you come across will either be your customer or know your customer, right? You don't have to try and appease everybody. They're going to be a very good way that you can serve people. And plus, you couldn't serve 7 billion people anyway. If I brought you 1,000 people, you would be overran. So these are some really good questions. Thanks you guys for bringing these in. Susan Bond asks, good morning, Greg. As a devoted student of Napoleon Hill, what would you consider the best tip for making effective connections?
Authenticity and specificity. So I'll give you an example. A lot of times I'll come off stage and people want me to work for them. I'm gonna give you an example. Someone will send me come off and they'll go, Greg, I love your stuff. How can I be of service to you? How can I be of contribution? How can I think? Now that is a sweet compliment. Now think about it. You're making me work for you. I'm already in its own way subconsciously turned off because I don't know who you are. I don't want to go to lunch with you. I don't want to pick your brain. I don't want to be, think about it for a second. But if I walk off stage and you say, hey, Greg, by the way, I just loved your presentation. I noticed on Instagram you have 500,000 followers. I make kick-ass memes. Can I make you one or two? You can use as a gift. And if you like it, maybe you can use my services. Done. I know exactly who you are, specificity, the whole bit. And people are missing that. Look, the bottom line, you saying, how can I be of service to you? That's nice, but I don't know what you do. What if you sat there and said, hey, how can I be of service to you? By the way, I'm a world authority on, whatever. And then I like to offer my services. Then it opens up the door. And then here's the other thing. Here's how I make all my connections. Specificity. When I reach out to world authorities, from Tonino Lamborghini to President Vicente Fox, all these different people, I'm specific. I go, President Vicente Fox, I'm writing a book called XYZ. It's about the power to persevere. I need 12.5 minutes of your time. I will cover all the costs and expenses that come to your location. By the time you open the door till the time I leave will be 12.5 minutes. I'm going to ask you one question: why you didn't quit through your challenging moment. That's it. Now, what's the chance of them doing it? 100%, because it's specific, it's to the point, they know what it is, and they know what to expect. Now, when I'm there, usually we build our alliances and friendships, and it keeps going and builds from there. But I promise you, at 12.5 minutes, or my alarm's going to go off and say, hey, it's my time. I'm going to live my word. Would you like me to leave? And then go from there. But when people sit there and say, hey, I want to take you to dinner, and I don't know somebody, what I want to spend, or you want to spend 3 hours with someone, you don't know if there's synergy or whatever, don't put someone in that position. Be specific.
I love that. Guys, this right here, that one bit right there can completely change your life. I mean, this is how I've been able to connect with people like Les Brown, Ty Lopez. I'll give you an example of Ty Lopez, right? I'm sitting at his house. I get invited to his $25,000 mastermind group. And I'm like, I'm just a guest, right? I got to cut a check, right? And he's like, yeah, you're good. I was like, cool, thank you. But I get to this, I'm sitting front row. He starts talking about a challenge. And I have a conversation with him and I let him know, hey, I'm a specialist in this exact arena that you are looking for a specialist in. More than happy to serve and literally be that solution for you and do X. I mean, I was very specific on what I was doing, not just, hey, I'm an app developer, I could help. You know, like, he's like, okay, well, then you got to go through all the stuff. And I was very, very specific. I got his attention. And this is what I always tell people is find a way to either solve a challenge they're not solving themselves, support a cause they're passionate about. I mean, you got to do something more than just say, I want to be here with you. I want to collaborate with you. So love that information there.
There's more power to that, Manny, because you also are smart about leverage. Because, for example, when you went to Les Brown, and again, I don't know how you did your deal, but I'm just going to make this up. When you went to Les Brown, chances are you didn't charge Les to make a app for him, but you said, hey, let me give you an app, show you what I do, help you out, be a contribution, Well, for the rest of your life, you get to say that you made the app for Les Brown. And that's credibility in itself and leverage that you can use off of. And that's how I opened up the doors. When I met with my first billionaire, when I wrote Wealth Made Easy, it was easy to call the next billionaire and say, hey, I just talked to the founder of Remax Real Estate and the founder of I'd like to interview you too. It just opened up the door of credibility.
I love that. Great stuff. It's exactly how it worked. I sat down with Les. He heard that I got named one of the best by Facebook. He thought, I need a Facebook strategist. Tony Robbins just hit a million fans. I need to hit 1 million fans. Really, what he needed was more speaking opportunities. He had just hit 70 years old, just finished another battle with cancer. Everyone thought he was on his deathbed, right? And so I come in and I'm like, you know what? I think what you could use is just an automated tool that we could use on a mobile app. I mean, I've been trying to work with more speakers, more coaches, more authors, more consultants. They all know you, Les. How about this? I'll build my app. You put your checkbook away. I'll get your results and you let me leverage those results. That was the exact conversation. He goes, done. Shake hands. Boom. Week later, his app is delivered. And for years since, I've been getting referrals. He's coming on my events. I mean, I brought him results. So now he's excited about collaborating with me. It's not just, I did a thing, yay. No, it's, I did a thing and implemented that thing to get him the results he was looking for. We got him over 1,000 speaking opportunities in 2 years. No ads, no promotion, didn't even hit his own network. We showed the power of that tool. And I leveraged that success story now to say, look, here's what we did with Les Brown. Here's what we took, and we did this with other people. And I literally get calls from people saying, hey, Manny, I'm looking at Les Brown's app. I want this one. Whatever he has, just send me the invoice, whatever that is. The power of leverage is real, my friends. So this is definitely.
And I want to honor specificity, and I think our time's up because you got your whole process going for the day. You and I can do this all day, so you're going to have to call me later.
Oh, yes. Perfect. So yes, we are at our 30-minute block. So we have a lot more Q&A coming in. I'll get some of those questions to Greg. Maybe you'll have a chance to get some of those answers. But if you want to stay connected to what Greg's up to, just text in the word Greg 2020, all one word, no spaces, Greg 2020 to our keyword number. Thanks for your time, Greg. Any last words you want to leave for our audience?
Yeah, anyone that wants to connect with me, go to Greg S. Reid on Instagram. DM me. It goes right to me. Don't ask me about the weather, what I ate for dinner, or my kids. But if you got a specific question, like you're putting in right now, I'd be glad to get back to you right away. Thanks for having me on, brother. Keep rocking.
Thanks, brother. Thank you for your time.